Alright, shout out everyone. So, isang importanteng update po para sa ating lahat. Ito po yung pag-attend ng ating Pangulo sa Manila Overseas Press Club. Kasama yung mahigit 400 na mga journalists sa iba-ibang network, mapa international and mapa local. So isa nga dito yung nagtanong kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos Jr. Ito po si Francisco Tatad o kilala bilang Kit Tatad, isang veterano at magaling na journalist, na itanong po dito sa ating Pangulo kung ano po yung plano nito pagdating sa usapang pangkapayapaan. At hindi nga siya binigo ng ating Pangulo at binigyan ito mga idol ng malinaw, detailed na sagot. So kaugnay po dito mga idol, narito po yung tanong at ang sagot ng ating mahal na Pangulo.
Since years back of martial law, and before martial law, my tutor in college, the great Kit Tatad.
Corridor for many nations to work together to
So you're asking the president if he wants to be the leader in peacemaking negotiations.
Yes.
Okay.
In regional concerns that we have, that it is not sufficient for one country or one leader or one head of state to lead the. There will be leaders, there will be followers, and we hope to be one. We hope to be the part of the leading, the ones that are leading the effort for peace. That we concentrate. In the past, in my discussions with the different leaders, we spoke very much, of course, of the situation here in Southeast Asia, in Asia, in regards to the intensifying non-violent conflict, but push and pull between China and the United States over Taiwan. And again, we were reminded 2 days ago of what we may have forgotten a little bit, that North Korea remains a threat to the peace in the region. And it's my belief that we must strengthen our organizations. And specifically in this case, I'm talking about ASEAN. And I think ASEAN can do more than it has done thus far. And in fact, in the upcoming ASEAN conferences that are coming up in November, I intend to propose several actions that ASEAN can take specific to the different conflicts that we are seeing in our region. And if the Philippines can play a part, then that would certainly be a good thing. We have the issue of Myanmar and the Rohingya situation, and we have as yet been unable to bring Myanmar to the table. And I think it's time to put forward some concrete proposals on what we can do to, at the very least, bring the at least representatives of the military government to the table so we can begin to talk about these things. I'm a great believer in engagement. And I think once the lines of communications have closed, then any hope of a compromise has ended. And so let us continue with that. But again, we must present a united front, and that is something that I believe is the best way forward, simply because the moral suasion, at the very least, of several member countries of ASEAN is probably, in many ways, more effective than just a single country. Although we don't dismiss bilateral contacts, bilateral negotiations, multilateral negotiations outside of ASEAN, within ASEAN. I think we should continue to try and push our member neighbors to present that united front and to move that united front forward so that we can say that ASEAN as a political, geopolitical aggregation, economic aggregation, has certainly shown that it has a function to do in the normal scheme of the geopolitics, but when crisis comes, that they come to the fore. And that, again, is something wherein I believe the Philippines can play a large part. But in fact, in my speech in the United Nations, I already proposed and I said that it would be we need to abandon the idea of nuclear weapons, of having a stockpile of nuclear weapons as a deterrence. And we should remove that kind of Cold War thinking already from our geopolitics and remove lower the stockpiles and make them, and finally at some point, to remove from the face of the earth any nuclear weapons. And unfortunately, 2-3 days later, we hear the announcement from Russia that they are contemplating using tactical nuclear weapons. This brings us back immediately to the problem with North Korea, because North Korea is the only country in the region who has threatened the use of nuclear weapons. And if Russia uses tactical nuclear, hindi na bali yung strategic nuclear weapons, but if they use tactical nuclear weapons in the Ukraine, and it becomes acceptable that tactical nuclear weapons are a conventional weapon, then that might encourage other nuclear powers to think in that direction and to now actually use the unthinkable. They start using their nuclear stockpiles. So we have a very important part to play in that, because we have a great interest. We have it must be a subject of central concern in our foreign policy and in the defense of the nation in the Philippines. So I do not think we have a choice. We must play a leadership role, because it is in our interest. And if we do not do it, we are not doing our jobs as the protectors of our country, of our state, of our territory, of our people. If we do not take that leadership role, I think it has been thrust upon us. And it is in good Filipino, as a good Filipinos, we face up to challenges and we face up to responsibilities. So we will face up to this one as well.
Thank
By
you
the
very
way,
much, Mr. President.
So, yun nga mga idol, no? At yun ang malinaw na sagot ng ating mahal na Pangulo kay Tatad tungkol sa usapang pangkapayapaan. Na ika nga ang sabi ng ating mahal na Pangulo ay kinukondim niya itong paggamit ng nuclear weapon, ayan, pagdating sa digmaan. Kaya kasi nga ito ngayon ay nagagamit na umano sa digmaang Russia and Ukraine. At tuloy-tuloy nga yung ballistic test ng North Korea. So kaya ang sabi niya, inaabandon niya yung paggamit ng nuclear weapon. So kinukondim niya. And ayon sa ating mahal na Pangulo ay tuloy-tuloy niya pinopromote yung itong usapang pangkapayapaan, lalo na po sa ating bansa, sa West Philippine Sea. Ika nga ang sabi niya ay dapat pag-usapan ito sa organization, o ito nga po yung ASEAN, okay, na sinasabi ng ating mahal na Pangulo na dapat pag-usapan, lalo na pagdating sa ating territory at yung ating foreign policy. At ngayon naman mga idol ay ang sunod na tanong ay si Ivan Marina mga idol. So ang tanong ni Ivan Marina, ano po ba yung accomplishment ng ating Pangulo sa kanyang ika-100 days na panunungkulan bilang isang Pangulo ng ating bansa? So ang sagot nga nito ng ating mahal na Pangulo ay parang hindi niya pa masabing accomplishment na itong 100 days, kasi ika nga sabi niya ay maiksi at kulang pa, kumbaga nagsisimula pa lang ito, ang kanyang mga ginagawa ay parang pagsisimula pa lang. So parang hindi niya makonsider na isang accomplishment, yung ngayong sabi ng ating mahal na Pangulo. So narito yung kompletong detalye sa sagot ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos kay Ivan Mayrina ng GMA News.
Magandang gabi po, Ginoong Pangulo. Good evening to everyone. Ako po
Good
si
evening.
Ivan Mayrina of GMA7. Mr. President, you will mark your 100th day in office in 2 days. What would you consider your accomplishments? What are the things that you wish you could have done? And what will you do, if any? What will you do differently?
Well, I would say that I don't know if I would myself term them as accomplishments. It's very early on in a term, but nonetheless, I think what we have managed to do in the first 100 days is put together a government which is functional and which has a very, very good idea of what we are targeting in terms of strict economic targets, for example, in terms of the numbers of growth, the numbers of our different measures, the different metrics that we are using for the economy. But beyond that, I think that we still continue to enjoy that the unifying force that the elections became. Generally speaking, elections are polarizing. And of course, and even in this case, it was polarizing, but at least a very strong majority made itself felt. And I think that is something that we continue to use as our foundation. And with that, what the promises that were made during the campaign, for example, that we bring the best and the brightest, and we do not look at color in terms of political color, I think we have done that. And more importantly, we have galvanized government once again into governing. And the one thing I worry about very, very much is coasting. Yung okay na ito, pwede na ito. We don't really need to attend to this anymore. It's going to be all right. You can all go and have a holiday. That's what I worry about the most. But I try very hard to put an impetus into government. Come on, let's go. We need to do these things. We haven't very much time. We have very few. We have very many difficulties. We cannot count on other countries to help us in ways that they used to be able to help us. So it is up to us. But I think all of those, at least in the higher positions in government, and even slowly, it's filtering down to the rank and file, are beginning to feel that no, there is a point to government. There is something that we need to be doing. And this is the direction we are being led in. These are the things that we are going to do. We are going to go from here to there. This is why we are doing it, and this is how we are going to get it done. And this is the part that you will have to play if we are going to succeed. That kind of message, I think, has filtered down to not only the elected officials, not only the high officials in government, but to slowly make the bureaucracy understand, make all our officials understand that we are here as a government, we are here to govern. We have been put here to try our best to pull us out of this terrible crisis that we have just been suffering for the last 2 years. And I think we have achieved that. So it is that sense of urgency, that sense of again, it is that unity that we bring people together, and we are bringing people together for a reason. And the reason is not ourselves, it's not our families, but it's our community, it's our country, it's our people. That, I think, we have returned into government. I think that's the most important thing. On a more practical level, I believe that the engagements that we have had with ASEAN countries such as Indonesia and Singapore, and then eventually our contacts that we renewed. The nice thing is the Philippines has many friends around the world, and these contacts and friendships we have been able to renew. But I think since this is the coming out party for the world, it's not just the Philippines that's coming out of the pandemic. This is the coming out party for the Philippines. And we are able to explain this is what the Philippines is now. This is what the Philippines looks like after 2.5 years of crisis. This is what the Philippines is doing, and this is how we can help each other. Because not any one country is going to manage this transformation by themselves. And we will need each other's help. The interconnectivity of the global economy was brought home in a very convincing way by the war in Ukraine. I even in the UN, I would talk to the other leaders and I say, who would have thought that the war in Eastern Europe would affect the Philippines halfway around the world in the gut, in the food supply, fertilizer prices, seedling prices, fuel, all of these things. You never imagined that such a thing would happen, but here it is, and here we are. And so it was very, very important for us to find our place now in the world, and to define that place and to explain that to the rest of the world, especially our friends, but also those who have not been considered as particularly close partners or allies. But we have been able to show that the Philippines is standing on its feet. The Philippines continues to have its aspirations and its dreams, and we are willing to do our part in making those dreams come true. And the partnerships, once again, are going to be important, and we invite you to join us. So that is one thing we have staked our place in the community of nations. I think that has been very, very important. The other, I suppose, we have started the struggle. We were able, I suppose, in the first 100 days, actually the first 60 days, maybe 50 days, we were putting out fires. We were just trying to make things work, because suddenly the problem, you're all aware, the problem with sugar, the supply, the problem with fertilizer. We were having to look to different what we now refer to as non-traditional sources. Senator Kit just brought up also this foreign policy between Ukraine and Russia. And we take a very balanced view, because the truth of the matter is we may have to deal with Russia for fuel, for fertilizer, we have to find a way to deal with the Ukraine for our feed wheat, our corn importation, all of these things, our livestock importation, all of these things have now become part of the mix that has made the world situation more volatile and more complex than it was before. But we have already made it clear where the Philippines stands in all of this. And it is something that I made clear again to the other leaders, and I said that we are essentially driven by our desire for peace. And all the economic development that we plan and all that we hope to do will come to naught unless there is peace. And so that, I think, that message, and we have played our part in that, that touches upon the question of Senator Kit Tatad about the leadership role that we need to be playing. So again, I think I remember the first time I heard this question. What was before was during the campaign. What will you do in your first 100 days. And I said, well, the first 100 days will be finding the best and the brightest to help and to serve in government. I think that we have managed to do that. I think that we have, I am always very grateful to those such as Secretary Ben Jokno, for those in our economic managers, for those who are experts who have come to have decided to join the government, because we know that they are very successful. And this is a sacrifice for them. It is really all about service on their part. And so we are always very grateful for their talent. We are grateful for their industry. And to have them in place already, I think, gives us a very distinct advantage as we try to transform our economy for the next few years.
Mr. President, ang haba na ng istorya ni Ivan. Anyway, Ivan, if I were to write the story, and allow me to suggest it, just remember two things: unity and engagement. This is the first president to personify the meaning of unity. Unity means nationhood. Engagement is like in an automobile. There is a transmission, there's an engine, there's a driver. You engage and you move. Thank you very much.
So, yun nga mga idol, yung sagot ng ating mahal na Pangulo. So, pinaiksi nga lang ni ng ating MC, no, ang sabi niya, unity and engagement. Yan lang yung pinaka-simple na answer. Alright. So, ang sabi nga ng ating mahal na Pangulo, ang accomplishment niya ay talagang wala pa. Kumbaga, nasisimulan niya pa lang, so maiksi pa yung oras or para sabihing accomplishment na yung 100 days. Pero ang pinagmamalaki ng Pangulo o Mano ay dahil mayroong strong majority na tumutulong sa ating gobyerno para sabay-sabay po natin malampasan ang mga problema at makabawi yung ating bansa pagkatapos ng isang pandemya. So, yun nga ang sabi niya, apektado rin po yung ating bansa dahil sa nangyaring gira sa Russia at sa Ukraine pagdating sa ating food security, food prices na nag-increase, agrikultura, yun nga ang kasama pagtaas ng mga gas. At ang sabi ng Pangulo, ang kanyang 100 days ay parang simula pa lang para hanapin kung ano yung mga sagot sa mga problema na hinaharap ngayon ng ating bansa. So, yun lang po yung aking summary sa mga nasabi ng ating mahal na Pangulo. Maraming salamat po sa iyong lahat. Sabay-sabay po nating suportahan yung ating administrasyong Marcos. Ayan, suportahan po natin ang ating gobyerno para sabay-sabay po tayong umangat. Hindi natin kailangan maging kaliwa, maging kanan, kundi sabay-sabay natin suportahan ang ating gobyerno para sa kabutihan. Of course, babatikusin natin kung mayroong ginagawang kasamaan. This is your host, Way Creation. Maraming salamat and God bless everyone.